Okay, I need to shut down the verb. Where is it? Hello, another live stream, and you see something else in front of me. And yeah, I see the webcam pointing at me is also in a different position, because in front of me is a camera stand with a camera to picture the Prophet-600. And we had a sad news that yeah, we had the passing away of Dave Smith from Sequential, a man who was very essential for developing synthesizers, and of course he was on the team for creating MIDI, which we use every day. So let me see if I can see if the stream is still okay. 1 second. Yeah, thank you for the 25 years. And yeah, Papen, I hope you like it. And we have the video went online yesterday, and many people are downloading it, and hopefully you enjoy it. And of course, as mentioned, the sphere is inside of it. And so if I open it now, or would put it on my voice, 1 second. Yeah, here I can select it. And of course then okay, here it is. One pans out stereo. Now it's on my voice. I go from left to right. And of course you have a auto panning, and that's cool. You can change here the it's of course not, cannot see it now. You should see it a little bit because the Prophet is inside. Here it is. It's auto panning. You can change here the left, right. And yeah, the video explains a lot, of course, how things are working, and I can go wild left, right, and you have the Doppler effects, which you can doing some trace sound effects. Okay. So I hope you enjoy it, the Papen. Yeah, it's a very sad news about Dave Smith, so that's my idea. Let's take today the Prophet-600, which I own, which was the very first synthesizer next to the Roland JX3P, which had the MIDI interface. So the JX3P, my musical colleague, had that one. It's also very nice synth. And the Prophet-600, you see, it's in front of me. It's I found it always a very sexy synth because it looks so good, you know, the wooden panels and the cool dials. Inside of it is a Z80 processor, so you have not that much steps. So you don't have here, if you have the attack, if I go to a default, address the envelope. So the decay only has a few little steps. So it has more a coarse or way of parameters. So these are not 128 steps, so it's less. It's not a problem. In general, you still can create some great sounds, but that I think was down to the limitation of the Z80. But it has some great sounds. One of the typical thing was on the left side is, of course, the tip toots, the tip selection for presets. Mine is still in very mint condition, but you should not press too hard to keep it in good shape. You only need to touch it very lightly. And I'm checking the chat room. Yes, it's a, he passed away. I think he was 72, Dave Smith. And of course he was, he created the famous Prophet-5. Went into the project with MIDI, was one of the MIDI people. And recently, he catch up again, producing synthesizers many years ago, and he has a very nice range of synthesizers. And I'm proud to own a Prophet-600. I still have my eye on a Prophet-6, which they created, or the Prophet-5, the remake. So maybe someday I will catch up one of them, because it's still great stuff. And this one is, of course, a real classic. And what I always liked about this one, it has a bit mean character. So it's I call it a bulldog synthesizer because of its sound. It's in great condition because I keep it very well. And my studio has also a for the moisture. So because that's bad for instrument, if it's too if the humidity is too high, it's not good for the synthesizer. So I keep a very good controlled studio environment. So let me play a few of these sounds, and of course, dry is that not so cool. I wrote a few down. I have some personal presets, of course, and also, so I need to click preset, and then you have preset. This one. It's like a flute. And of course I put a little bit effects on it. So here we see I shut off the thing I put on. Okay, I had, of course, API verb. 1 second, let's take API verb again. API verb 2. Okay, so we have a little bit, because the Prophet-600 comes in the same input as my voice. So I shut down my voice and just play this flute sound. It's very nice with a bit reverb. And well, that's a very nice sound, but also the so when I speak, you hear I need to mute this. Number 15, and then I have this one. You only need to watch with the volume. Yeah, this is a typical sound, my own creation. It's a sync sound, but it uses also the sync, unison. Now it's at 6 voice. If you put unison on, this one, you got unison 6 oscillators playing at once. And then you also can do the little trigger, the monophonic glide thing. So let's play this one also with a bit of reverb and delay. Yeah, you can see it's really, I said, it sounds like a bulldog. Yeah, there are too many synthesizer heroes are dying. So we had, of course, Klaus Schulze and Vangelis, and now also Dave Smith. It's really sad. For the ones we talked about, the Klaus Schulze tribute we did at Lee Live, Ron Boots and myself did a tribute to Klaus Schulze. It's now also on video, and you can download it for free on Bandcamp and on the homepage of Groove Records. So if you look into the info section, if you did not see yet, maybe you didn't know that we did a tribute. It's 20 minutes, really in the style of Klaus Schulze. You can have the link to the YouTube video, and in the YouTube video, you can also in the info section you can find the Bandcamp link, and also where you can download this track if you are like this music style, electronic music in the Berlin school type of music, so if you like that, check it out. Yeah, everybody, welcome in the chat room. Oh, Johan, you also had. Did you also have one? Cool. Yeah, so let's play a few more sounds. I also have some sound effects. I need to go down with my volume. So please. That's a dirty one. Let's play it with some. Nice, isn't it? So each time, because I used the input from the microphone also to play the Prophet-600, I had no time to have another audio setup. Let me see, it's 81. Yeah, that's that type of sound we had. Let me see. This is a nice sound for sequencing. So it has the modulation. Let's play it with a beat. It's a bit hard to play with a camera stand in front of me, but you hear the very nice character of the filter. So this is dry. This is a bit of this sound reminds me, by the way, by Schulze. This is a little bit like picture music. Album Picture Music has also this kind of sound. So, but then a bit delay, of course. It also has an arpeggiator. So here you clearly can hear that it has only a few steps with the decay, with all the parameters. So it really jumps pretty much to the next setting, but still you still can create some cool sound. So nice resonance. And of course with delay it's much cooler. So this is yeah, with the arpeggiator. And there is, by the way, there is also seems to be on internet a kind of upgrade for this section here, for the whole Prophet-6 to have it updated in some way. So let's go if we have some more presets. I wrote some down. Yeah, that one we had, that kind of type sound. Oi, oi, oi. No. 26, what was? Oh boy. That's a nasty. Yeah, that's more a jar effect. So with that one we need. I think this one, of course, you see how much FX changes the sound of it. It's of course very dry if you play it this way. But this sound uses the polar modulation, if I'm not wrong. So let's see what we have here. Yeah. So it's a pitch envelope. And then oscillator 2 modulates oscillator A. So also cool for FX sounds. So if you go back to original, I think that one is cool, especially with dulciane on it and RP verb. Yeah, you see, yeah, of course, in that time when I purchased the Prophet-600, it's already, I think, 30 years ago. Of course, then we used external delays and reverbs, the lexicons, and now, yeah, we are lucky to have quality FX in our own music host. Okay, I'm checking the chat room. So today, a little bit of special about the Dave Smith and MIDI. And MIDI, of course, is something we use daily, and essentially, it's a very old serial transmission. And I can recall that once we had the Atari computer, we had extra MIDI outputs because if everything went to these 16 channels and you had a lot of synthesizers, you got latency. So that was the problem with MIDI. The data transmission was, of course, for that time very high, but if you start using sequencers and many synthesizers, you really could have some latency. So the trick with the Atari computer is to have a extra MIDI outputs, so you could spread out the data. And especially if you would use controllers like pitch bend and modulation wheel, or after touch, that even put more strain to this MIDI. But it's a standard, and they have now MIDI 2. The new standard, but of course that will take time before everything is then available on the keyboards, sequencers, and that kind of thing. But essentially, I mean, MIDI was at that time the way that you can communicate your sequential with a Roland synthesizer. Of course, still different, because I was used to modular stuff, so that I know that you could not connect a Korg synthesizer to a Moog because the trigger was different and that kind of thing. So we were used that you could not everything connect together with modular. But with MIDI, we had, of course, have to get used that it was a different way of sequencing, well, more a recording way, not doing real-time transpose and that kind of thing. So, so I'm checking for more presets. Okay. Could be also somewhere. It's nice sequence sound. Yeah, you hear my clacking of the keyboard. Oh, and pad sound. Okay, shut down my microphone and I play this pad sound with a bit of delay. Of course, sound-wise, it's very different from compared to the Japanese synthesizer. It's more brutal. So, okay, if you press here a preset off, then you have the panel. So then you have the sound of the panel. You see, this is the Oscillator 1. Okay. And I see it just unison, so I put unison off. Now you can have saw. You can have triangle, square. Okay, that one has then. So it's the pulse modulation. It's the pulse width. Essentially the symmetry, and then you could do the LFO modulation on the left side here. You could address that also to the pulse width. And then the cool thing is you could combine them. So you also could say saw together with the square. It's not always good. Oh, for basses it's nice to have the saw and you put on also the triangle. And then you have a nice bass. So without the, it loses some body. Although, also a matter of volume. So it doesn't have a sub oscillator. So now it's only one oscillator. And then you combine with two. That one is one octave lower. Nice organic sound, so with a bit of delay. The only pity is still this is polyphonic. So if you want to have the legato mode, you need to have the unison. Okay, I think that's the way it works. Sorry. So if you have unison off, you put it on without playing, you really have the unison. So 6 notes stacked on one key. If you keep the note and then press unison, you got the mono legato mode. Let's see if I can make a medium type of flip. Oh. Why is he so? Okay, no. Okay, let's see how it sounds with a bit reverb. But it's different than a mini mode. Yeah, you see, in tone, it's different compared to a mini moog, but still it's very useful. The unison, so that's something you need to know. So if you, I think I have somewhere a bass. I'm not sure where it is. 23? No. No, I have somewhere a bass, which is very nice, but I don't recall the preset number anymore. No, that's not the one. Okay. Oops. But this is also a nice sound, but this is done with the pulse width modulation. So it's the pulse modulation is very extreme. So you don't see it, but it's on. So if you put off the pulse width modulation, you don't hear the sound because the pulse is not in the middle, so it's really so thin. The pulse is so thin that you don't hear a sound, and then it's modulated, and then you got this. Which is even nicer if you play some, you use some delay and reverb. So yeah, so the Prophet-600, a very special machine. It's different, I think, compared to a Prophet-5 due to the different type of chips it uses. But I always loved it. We use it very often in our track. Let's see if I can find another preset, which is typically. Sorry for the, no. It's bad. Ah, here's the bass. So now I shut off. This one we use if maybe some of you know the prophecy, the CD, the prophecies are from Peru. We use this bass a lot. Okay, let's. So that one's a little bit growly, you know. It's oh, that's fun and back. Okay, let's see what the chat room has to say. Oh, Johan is also there. Yeah, Johan, you were live at the event at eLive. And eLive, I think it's back again, 5 November in Eindhoven again. So if you like electronic music and you are in the neighborhood, maybe you live close in Belgium or Germany, you really should try out. It's a very nice event with electronic music. And I played twice there now. The second time was now this Klaus tribute. Okay. I'm checking the chat room if there's any question. Wireless MIDI. I never tried that. Of course, MIDI itself is, of course, a something you need to be careful with in terms of data. So that's what I told. If you use then multiple outputs, then you can spread out the MIDI because it's a serial, I think, serial 32 kilobyte rate, something like that. And so I'm going to move now my my Prophet-600. Oh, do you maybe still have a question about Prophet-600? I still can do some things with it, so maybe to show you, because I showed it that it has 2 oscillators, the filter with its own envelope with the amplifier. Essentially, it looks pretty much like a Minimoog in the layout. So yeah, and then it has the polar modulation. That makes it that's a typical sequential thing from that time. That we did not see that much in other synthesizers. So let's go to the okay. So we have 2 oscillators. I have a bit basic patch, and so I need to put on my microphone a bit louder because I'm speaking into the standard here. So poly mode is the filter envelope. You can, which is this one. You can use the filter envelope, this one, and this is the destination. So I can do it to frequency A. And of course, that is interesting if you put the oscillator A in sync. Because once you can hear it. Now, if you have, so let's do a little bit of teaching of synthesis. If you have 2 oscillators, you have this oscillator sync. What happens is that the oscillator A synchronizes to oscillator B if you use sync, which is, it connects to the phase of the oscillator. So, which means that oscillator A, once you go in sync, doesn't have really a life of its own. So when you, now you hear a kind of movement. So let's hear that. Because you use 2 oscillators. One oscillator sounds like this. 2 oscillators sounds like this. So you hear the 2 oscillators having each its independent life. So if you put sync on, it suddenly sounds like one oscillator. So some people think, oh, what is the use of sync? I don't see any good inside of it, because once I press sync, my sound, which is now nice and nice, suddenly it's like a one oscillator sound. Once you use sync, it's getting interesting if you change the pitch of it. And that's what I'm doing with this envelope. So the envelope, the filter envelope, is changing this pitch of frequency A, and then you get this typical sync sound. So you hear the difference in sound. This is oscillator B, and this is oscillator A, which is in sync and changed by the filter envelope. So if I change the envelope, so that is the sync. It synchronizes the waveform of the oscillator. And once you start changing the pitch, then you get really cool results. So that's the polymodulation. Now it's the normal pitch envelope. So if I put on the sync, I once had when I did still the course here in my studio, I had one person who said, "Oh, now I understand what sync means." He saw that on his virus B, and I thought that was simply something about MIDI syncing, but it's a whole different story. So that's also inside the Prophet-600, this polymodulation, and so you also can make some sound effects. So if I even would take here, or could make a bass drum. Here's a bass drum on the Prophet-600. Nice, huh? What does the Prophet-600 doesn't have is noise. No, there's no waveform with noise here. A bit like a we say 909. Or these cheap sounds. So yeah, that's the frequency, and then of course that's the other cool thing. You could also modulate with oscillator B to oscillator A. And then you got essentially FM type of modulation, frequency modulation. Not so exciting, maybe. Maybe for effect sound. Some dirty sound effects. But if what you also can do is, if I pick normal, okay, let's put the oscillators, is that you use oscillator B to modulate the filter, and that is a very typical thing. So this is without the modulation, and this is with the oscillator B modulation. So that's more for sound effects. So that's if you use the oscillator B to audio modulate frequency A or the filter. Okay, I can see Shaq Bauer with a question. XY, yeah, sometimes some of the plugins lose their thing. The best is that you create a support ticket, and we can help very fast. One thing which you could do is simply, if you go into the download page of Explorer 7, you scroll down, you download the XY Transfer single installer, and you run that one with your Explorer 7 serial. And of course, close your music program ahead of that. And then if you're on a Mac, reboot, and then check again. Okay. Yeah, we are. I still need to install Cubase 12. I have a little bit too much VST2 plugins, other brands, in my own system, so I will stick to Cubase 11 myself, because Cubase 12, it's only VST3, and all our products are VST3 now. But I also have other plugins, which is annoying. Yeah, Johan, yes, you're correct. eLive will not be at NetLab. It will be another location. I don't recall the name anymore, but it's also in Eindhoven. Also very nice room. Okay. Okay, so Jack, yeah, if that doesn't work, just create a support ticket and we help out as soon as possible, of course. But sometimes it happens, people upgrade, And essentially, it should activate for every plugin, but yes, sometimes you got these weird things with computers. Okay. Yes, so yeah, I see some people talking about wireless MIDI. I didn't try that yet. So I was explaining the Prophet-600 and why I like it. I call it a bulldog synthesizer because it can be very nasty in its sound. Especially these sync sounds are great. Let me see. Here we have one. And it's in unison. Of course, if you put a little bit juice on it, a bit of dulcine and reverb, then it all sounds better. And there was another sound. Oh yeah, I wrote down not everything, but I think it's the arpeggiator is cool. So if I go to arpeggiator and tweak a little bit, that's funny. If I play one note, the arpeggiator doesn't play. I need to play a chord. And of course, that's always the fun if you have dials in front of you. So when I'm programming, I very often have the virus B next to me, and I immediately latch that to the plugin so that I have for the envelopes that I have dials. Let's see if I can make some. So it really has a very mean resonance. Hitting a few notes, wrong notes, because that's the camera is in front of my nose with the stand. So, but you see, it has a very nice sound, and yeah, I'm not sure if the arpeggiator would sync to MIDI. I didn't never try that. We always played in the sequence inside the sequencer, the music sequencer. So, so yeah, makes it special. This board on the left side, you can dump the sounds, MIDI dump to tape, but it's also doing, I think in MIDI, does also a dump. There's a manual, and you can also MIDI dump. Yeah, sequence 1 and sequence 2, I think it's just major sequence playing. It's never, you don't, it's not quantized. It's more like just playing a few melodies, so it's not very useful in my opinion. Then you have the tune function, and yeah, the funny thing is that it's built, the processor is a Sinclair's Z80. Some people of the 80s, I think, know this. The Sinclair computer has the same processor, the Z80. So this one is in my studio, will never leave my studio, because I found it a very sexy synthesizer. I have some good sounds inside of it, and I always enjoyed it. And of course, a proud owner of a sequential synthesizer. And someday, yeah, I'm still have my eye maybe on a Prophet-5 or 6, but you also need time to play it, of course. But that sometimes I lack time. So I have some classic in my synthesizer studio here, and of course, when I was on stage, by the way, by the Klaus Schulze tribute, of course, I had to bring with me the Minimoog. So normally I would not take it with me on tour or when I play live, because it's such an old machine. The same for the Prophet-600, is I rather keep it in my studio and use another setup. But because, Klaus Schulze played a lot on the Minimoog at solo, so that was no choice. I had to take with me the Minimoog, and so that was during the live Klaus Schulze live event. Yeah, I thought it's the Z80. That's the name of the processor, the Z80. And if it's a or whatever, it's what I can recall, it's the Z80, which was also used in the Sinclair little computer they sold at that time. Yeah, absolutely great. So let me play another sound. Maybe just create a typical Vangelis sound on this one. Maybe let's give that a try. And we are getting there a little bit, so maybe a little bit more reverb. Yeah, it doesn't really, of course not. It doesn't have. It has a different filter than the Maya CX80. But yeah, you see, it's a very nice synthesizer. Okay, cool. You still have one of the processors. Cool. Yeah, I guess maybe they are very popular again. These older computers, they tend to be very. Because people start with doing that, then they sold their computer, and then they want to have it back because for them there is nostalgia. I had the same with the Roland SA101. I sold that because it had no memory for presets, so that made me always frustrated that if you had a great sound, then yeah, it was gone. You had to write it down, and but then I could purchase it back last year. So maybe another live stream what I like about the SH101. No, oh, Johan, he mentions the GliGli Osmo. No, it doesn't have it. Yeah, that well could be that it makes it more versatile. I think they added some additional features to it. It's the same with my Jupiter 8. It also has a MIDI kit, and then you have a kind of velocity, but it's monophonic velocity, so for each voice. But you can dump the sound, so that makes it really interesting. And of course, you have the MIDI on a Jupiter 8. So I'm not sure what they do to this Prophet-600, what the additional features are, but I'm essentially happy as it is now. So I don't think it's necessary for me to have that. And okay. I'm checking in the chat room. Yeah, they mentioned that the wireless is now very handy. Yeah, cool. Yeah, indeed. When you're moving around in the studio and you don't have the stupid cables. Yeah, now I'm full of cables because of my headphone and the camera in front of me. I use now a other camera because I have a little issue with my Logitech. The second Logitech webcam has a lot of latency and weird movements. This one, which you can see my face on, is very good, which is the 920, but the 930, which is another type, is very bad. Or maybe it's because two Logitech webcams are connected. Maybe that the system gets confused because who is going to use two webcams, you know? But so I took the Sony camera, and yeah, it's in the middle of my. You can see if I move a little bit here you see this is the camera. You see on the left side you can see my camera, and then that's my setup now. Here you can see again the Prophet-600, and then my screens. Yeah. So so let's put that one back. So let me see if you. So yeah, that was it for today, guys. I hope you liked it. And a bit about Prophet-600. It was a little bit improvisation on what to do, but yeah, in respect to the legend that sadly passed away too early, Dave Smith of Sequential Circuit, of which we own a lot of credit. He has developed MIDI for us, and of course a legendary range of synthesizer. Yeah, guys, I hope to see you next week again. We are back again. And then, so if you did not check out the Klaus Schulze tribute, if you like electronic music in the style of Klaus Schulze, check it out. It was a very nice event on eLive. So in the description, in the info box, you can find the link to the YouTube video. And in the info section from this YouTube video, you can find the Bandcamp link for downloading the track also, if you want to have it on your mobile or whatever. So that is also possible. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Enjoy creating music. That's important. And enjoy turning these dials. See you later, guys.